everyone. I just want to start off. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to invest in yourself and take away from our experiences. And so, can you go to the next slide, Pam?
Yes.
So, who am I? I'm a rising senior in kinesiology with a concentration in clinical exercise physiology with a minor in Asian American studies. I'm the undergrad AAAARCC student ambassador, and I have been since my sophomore year in the winter semester. I'm a first-generation immigrant, and so I immigrated to the United States from the Philippines when I was 7, and I've served as a student leader for various organizations. Next slide, please, Sam. And so the topics I'll be covering is my personal testimony of handling well-being, resiliency, handling burnout, experiences as a first-generation immigration student, student leader, and balancing priorities during my college career, systems I use to stay on top of things and controlling my schedule, my overall reflection and lessons to take away, and AARCC resources. Next slide, please, Sam. And so my personal story of well-being and resiliency starts when I was relatively successful until my sophomore year of college, where I started to neglect myself and had trouble balancing my priorities. And it became so bad that by the end of my fall semester of my sophomore year, my scholarships were at risk of being revoked, and my professional goal of becoming a physical therapist became a pipe dream. I was lost and stuck in a dark place. And experiencing things that I normally excel at became a failure was tough for me to accept. Next slide, please, ma'am. Okay. And so how did I get out of it? And so the first thing that I did was accept personal responsibility. And by that, I mean just taking control of your own life. And so there was a situation where I felt like I started blaming the professor for not being able to teach the material as well. But I started to frame it as if this professor can't teach me the material as well that I can understand it, what are some other resources that I can utilize so I can understand the content better? And so I started to change my mindset from a negative perfectionist to a more positive and accepting. And so to help change the way I approach things by adopting new systems and reaching out to receive professional help in my communities for support and making a priority list composed of the 3 things that matter to me. And so those 3 things that I prioritize is my physical, emotional, and social health, my goal of making it to physical therapy school, and helping underserved communities. And so here's an example of a system I utilize to be successful. And so what I use is called Notion. And what it is a workspace app like Evernote and OneNote. And how I use it is for note-taking and organizing my daily, weekly, and monthly tasks. And why I recommend it is because it's the best way for me to organize my thoughts, both school-wise and miscellaneous things. So I'll be able to better organize my academic stuff, review better, and I also have some things such as my journal and recipes I use to cook. And it is completely free for all students, and you just need to use your student email to sign up. And it's also free for everyone, but for students, we have access to what's called Notion Pro. And so the next thing I use is Google Calendar. And what it is a time management and scheduling calendar. And how I utilize it is to map out my daily, weekly schedule, upcoming assignments and exams, and bills to pay. And so why I recommend it is so you have a better idea of how your days will look like, things to prioritize, conflicts, and being intentional with your time. And it is completely free. And so here are some miscellaneous tips that I found valuable about well-being, study skills, and resiliency. And so I think the most important thing is mindset. It is being intentional, proactive, and adaptive, but also being kind to yourself. And having an outlet besides academics, for me, that's working out and joining cultural organizations. I think to be a successful Boilermaker is to not only be successful in the classroom and also out of it. And so finding a supportive community. Having a support system is a must, especially when things get tough. For me, I felt like when I had these challenges, I kind of distanced myself from my community. And so in a way, I kind of isolated myself. And I think honestly, a lot of the challenges I faced could have been done a lot better if I had other people and I reached out to help me. And so going off of that is leveraging people's experiences, finding other people that are successful to help answer your questions and finding out how they overcame these challenges, because a lot of the times the same challenges that they had to go through are the ones that you're going through. And so utilizing Purdue's resources. Purdue offers them for little to no cost. And I'll discuss some of them, what the ARC offers, the next slide. But you're spending the money to be in a prestigious university, so make the most of it. And so here are some ARC resources. So we have a partnership with CAPS. And so we had this, excuse me, this partnership with CAPS where we started this in the spring semester, where we have a conversation on mental health and well-being, self-care with a licensed therapist. And the next one is the Catch a CCO Career Coach, where we have career opportunities and career services consultant to help you doing this really wild field in terms of jobs and internships. And so here's my overall reflection. College was a rough transition point for me, and balancing all of these is a challenge both in the past and currently. But from all these experiences, I'm a stronger, wiser, and ultimately a better version of myself. And I hope you were able to have some great takeaways from my presentation. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact me. So I'd just like to finish with this one little picture that I found to be really insightful and both heartwarming. And so this boy is having this conversation with his cat, and he's just enjoying his day. And he knows that every day won't always be having all the good times and always be successful. But I think the cat really gives some insightful wisdom by just saying that, just remember that today came after some of your most horrible days, and the path between the two can always be found again. And what that means to me is that during your successful times, there are going to be some speed bumps, and there are going to be some times where it's going to be awful and you just have to get through it. But just knowing that just because you have these challenges, the path between the two can always be found, and it's not like set in stone. And so thank you again for taking the time to listen to my story, and I hope you were able to have some great takeaways.